Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Uncut with Kobe and Andrew, and we are on episode 10. And today we have a very special guest who's one of my favorite people and the prettiest person on the news, Ashley Nagaoka from Hawaii News Now.
So you've known her for a while, right? You worked at the news as well?
I've known Ashley for a long time, so like back when you were on the playground, basically. So we started in news like in the early 2000s, like a long time ago.
When it was still only on TV.
When it was tape to tape, yeah, and it was still only on TV, no social media. But we talk about that in this episode, and she's just like super down to earth, just Kauai girl, and I'm excited for you guys to get to know her more.
I met Ashley so many times, in passing and whatnot, and see her on social media all the time. But it's so cool to like have her on our show and hear her story and journey.
Yeah, hope you guys like it.
Thanks for being here, Ash.
Of
course.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're so busy.
I'm not that busy.
I know we see you super active everywhere, either working out on the news or
Working
running.
out, I know. You're always up to something. You are traveling.
Yeah, I wish we were doing it more though, right? I mean, it's starting to start back up again.
Yeah, you just got back from, tell us about your trip to Sedona.
Sedona, yep. So me and a couple of friends who like to hike, we went and we hiked pretty much for 5 days straight. It was magical. I don't know if you know anything about Sedona, but they're known for like vortexes and crystals, and so we kind of just escaped and
got your hippie on.
Exactly, got
for
weird
5 days,
in the desert. Yeah.
That's such an Ash trip. Just like go out there in the wilderness and hike for 5 days.
I bet it was a good reset though.
It
Kinda
was.
just like get away from everything.
It was, and it was so beautiful. It was cool but not too hot. Yeah, and I haven't been back to Arizona for a long time. I went to school there, to college. Yeah. So it's been a while. So it was nice.
What was your biggest takeaway while like hiking out there?
I think it was just, it was still empty because people are still in the pandemic. But just like being among like the red rocks and the majesty of everything and the surroundings and, just resetting. That was a big theme of the trip.
Yeah. So you do a lot of hiking back in Kauai, where you're from, right?
Yes.
You're always like chasing waterfalls.
Yes. That's my thing. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about growing up in Kauai. I mean, I know you're like Miss Kauai.
Yeah,
like literally,
I'm very proud.
Sweetheart of Kauai.
Yes, I represent Kauai hard.
Yes.
No, it was great. I mean, your neighbor island too, Kobe. It was a very small community. My mom worked in hotels. My dad was the manager of a supermarket. We didn't lock our doors. We still don't really lock our doors there. And everyone just kind of looked out for each other.
Yeah.
I was in the 3rd grade when Hurricane Iniki hit. I remember it like it was yesterday. It's such a vivid memory of like, our neighbor's house like crashing into our house, my mom and my brother running through the hallways. That's
crazy.
I remember everything.
Yeah. That was 91.
92.
92. So how old were you? 3rd grade.
The 3rd grade.
So, that's crazy.
And it
that's
actually,
like 9.
yeah.
So that's like old
house,
enough to like realize what's going on and like.
And it was our house was pretty much destroyed to the point.
The house that you lived in.
Yep.
I've been to your childhood home.
Yeah.
So that house is the house that you lived in.
Our neighbor's roof came into our living room while we were in it. Yeah.
Oh,
what?
Yeah. It was like a movie. Like me and my brother were at the window. We were watching everything like fly around. And then there was a big crash. My mom grabbed both of us and she like fell backwards. And as soon as she fell backwards, I remember like being on my back and just like seeing our neighbor's roof basically like come through our wall. And then it was like it was crazy.
It's like mom instinct.
Exactly. And then we ran into the hallway and we just hid there until it was over. And we didn't have water, electricity. So I actually finished 3rd grade at Ainahaina Elementary School.
You did?
Yeah, because my mom didn't want us on Kauai while they were like rebuilding and stuff.
Okay. So you like moved over to Oahu.
Yeah, her sister's here, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So that must have like made a huge impression on you, like even thinking about what you want to do as a career.
Yes.
And like did that
Absolutely. I remember, watching the news from Oahu about what was going on in Kauai.
Yeah.
I remember reporters like because we were on Kauai for a couple weeks after the hurricane. I remember going into town to get like ice from the soldiers that were in town, the National Guard, and seeing the reporters out there. So yeah, I was definitely attracted to the news at a very young age.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you always know like after that, did you kind of grow up thinking like, I want to work in news? Or was that even like a thought?
I think so. You know, watching the news with my family was like a tradition, a nightly tradition. Mm-hmm. Reading the newspaper with my dad was something we did every morning. So yeah, I definitely knew I wanted to be kind of someone who spoke to someone like on a daily basis, like interacted, kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
So kind of like was a good fit.
Yeah.
Nice. So after finishing third grade here, you moved back to Kauai, and then you finished like high school and everything there, and then you went away for college.
I did. Then I went to Arizona.
And then did you study journalism?
I did.
Okay.
And so I thought I wanted to be a print reporter, a newspaper reporter. But my college counselor kind of talked me out of it. He said, with your personality, like, I think you should go more the broadcast route.
Shout out to that counselor.
So I switched my senior year. I went,
Oh, so you're doing print the whole time?
I was doing print the whole time. Well, kind of in journalism school, you're kind of taught both, you know, like the laws and ethics and all that. And then kind of your senior year is when you kind of choose which path you want to go.
I feel like that learning print probably helped you so much more in broadcast than going from broadcast back to print would have helped you.
Yeah.
Because you really are, it's kind of like also like English or like writing, crafting a story.
Yes.
Like it's so much harder in print. I don't know how
It
print
is.
does it, honestly.
They do have much more time though, like
True.
their deadlines. Yeah. But I felt that was hard to adjust to because writing from, you know, with print, you have so much paper, you have so much lines you can write, and then TV is very
30 seconds.
Yeah, you have like a time limit.
So I would submit my broadcast scripts, and they'd be like, "This is like 5 minutes long." It's like we need it down to a minute 30. Yeah, it was like long format storytelling.
Yeah.
That's like the toughest part, and like because we do film, and it's just like so hard to cut down to like 30 seconds, and now with social media, it's like 15 seconds. And it's like, how do you tell a story in 15 seconds and you capture the tension and then get that message across?
I think that's why I never got into Twitter. Like I can't.
I know that
how many characters?
Yeah. Well, even like writing teases and stuff, it's like kind of like play on words with news. It's like having to write it like cleverly.
Yes.
Is that the word?
Yes.
But it's also like you write it the way you speak, right? So it's versus print in, I don't know.
Getting straight to the point.
Yeah, it's like very like so people can understand. You're like talking to your grandma who's watching this at home.
Right.
So you mentioned like Twitter and whatnot, like how was that pivot? Because then you kind of grew up in like that journalism on TV and everything, and then now with social media and everything, like, so how is that been?
It was crazy. I don't know if you remember, Kobe, but when we were at KGMB, there was no social media like on air.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a meeting where Jared Kuroiwa, I forget what his position was, but he was kind of like our techie guy, and he came into the meeting. He was like, "Hey, I have an idea. What if we start incorporating Twitter into our newscast?" And we're like, okay.
Talking about?
Yeah, I was like, he's like, "No, we can like ask viewers for like photos," and we're like, "Yeah,
oh,
Jared,
Jared.
the dreamer." I mean, and then that was like the start of it, right? Like, and it's crazy how much, what such a big part of social media the news is now.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even watch TV. So it's like I get all my news, I'm like just scrolling through the feed, and
that's what a lot of my friends say.
So much, like it's crazy.
Yeah, because
my mom still watches the news, I think.
Yeah.
But like nobody else that I know. It's just like the Instagram stories or whatever.
Yeah, when we go to like Nana's house, we watch it with her and whatnot. But like I'm like, oh, okay, cool, that happened, and it's just like a quick 30-second thing, and
it's so
even
different
30 seconds
now.
feels long now. I know that sucks for me, but or like the generation now, but. Yeah.
I think the hard part though, being in the news this day and age with social media, is just like the comments you get.
Oh yeah.
On social media, like people chill.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Sometimes I just like I'm there for the comments though.
Like
wow, just like
warriors.
watching this like whole thing play out. Like wow.
You can't please everyone for sure.
No.
And it's crazy. Like there are people out there like that.
Yes.
Like I don't know.
That I don't care for.
But. Yeah. So, okay, so you graduated from Arizona, and then you came back home and interned at KGMB. Well, you were in, did you do that while you were going to college?
So I graduated, and then I had a paid internship with the Society of Professional Journalists.
Okay,
so it was
SPJ,
a summer, it was a summer paid internship. And I actually had a job back in Arizona lined up to go to after I finished my internship back home, because I just wanted to be home. You know, my
Just
last
come back home for the summer.
Yeah. Before you start your career.
And then they never let me leave, so I stayed. I stayed for, gosh, it was like 4 years at KGMB.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's where I met Ash.
Okay.
Yep.
This was back in like.
So you were in, you studied journalism and everything. And
Yeah, so I worked at KGMB, and that's where I met Ash back in the day. Andrew loves when I like give dates because he's like, "Wow, you're old." While he was still in high school is when we were doing our internship.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like we were saying, it was such a different culture and different. I mean, the newscast was like the huge big deal, you know, like 5, 6, and 10 we had. So, and we were just like little babies running around with our little notepads.
Yep. Yeah, we had a employee candidate come in this past week at HNN, and she was talking about, back in the day when it was tape to tape. And I nodded because I remember that. And she's like, "You don't know what that means." I was like,
No,
I am older than I look. I was in news when it was tape to tape. I remember the transition to HD.
Yes, those giant pancake tapes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't even have internet on our phones back in the day.
Right.
So how it would work is the police scanner would go off, like fire on Kapiolani Boulevard. You would jump in the news car. You don't know where this is.
Yeah. You just kind of.
There's a map book.
Yeah.
You would open.
Oh my God.
And you would look Kapiolani book. Like, it was crazy how we did it back in the day.
Their map books were like legit though. It was like a textbook, and like it would zoom in on every like street corner in Honolulu. It was like crazy. Yeah. And then you would just be waiting for the desk to call you and tell you like where it is, and like,
okay, we'll be there. Yeah. We're in that area.
Yeah, there was no like maps, you know, like
no Google MapQuest wasn't a thing yet. Like you would just figure it out.
The phones were like these like
the Nextel,
the Nextel,
the walkie-talkies, basically.
Yeah. I remember my dad had an Nextel.
Oh my gosh,
I know.
We're really dating ourselves now. But yeah, it was fun though.
It was.
And everybody was so tight because you kind of like had to be, because you had to like really lean on each other to like get pieces of information. And yeah, that was such a fun time.
It was.
So you worked at KGMB for 5 years.
I left in 2009.
To go to DC.
Yeah.
Was that like, you still wanted to be a journalist, or like you went to DC to explore
a break.
something new? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I definitely needed a break.
Everybody needs a break.
Yeah.
What was that like? That point, like that pushing point, I was just like, oh, I need a break.
I think it was because I became kind of that girl where whenever something tragic happened, they would send me to a family to like try and get them to talk to you.
Yeah.
Which I hate doing. Like if they want to talk to us, they'll talk to us. That's kind of how I am today. And I feel like that's kind of how most newsrooms have like gotten. Like respect their privacy, and if they want to talk to you, they will. But, just knocking on doors day after day.
It's not even like good.
No, and I was like, I can't.
They would send you because you're like the sweet, like with the smile. And if anybody's going to talk to somebody, it's going to be Ash.
Yeah. And like 5 years of that, I can't imagine,
No. So, yeah, I just needed a break.
Yeah.
So DC, I mean, right across the country.
Yeah. So let me take the biggest break. Not to California, not to Arizona. I'm gonna go to DC. Yeah. What was like your thought process in that? Like, why DC and like?
So there was just an opportunity there, and it was the best time to be in DC for a Hawaii kid, because you had President Obama in the White House, Senators Inoue and Akaka were at the top of the Senate, and Congresswoman Hanabusa just got elected, so she needed a press person.
And that was you.
Yeah.
That was me.
So how long were you in DC for?
About 5 years as well.
Oh, sick. Okay.
What was that like, being a small town Hawaii kid in DC with Obama in office? What was that like?
So I think because, the senators were so important at the time, that they just were so taken care of. And that passed on to the Hawaii delegation of kids, basically. So we would be invited to the same parties, and there's Joe Biden, and there's we would be invited to the balls. Hawaii was so taken care of at the time.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And
And like at that point in your career too, that was such a that was part of just a whole new world,
Yes.
and like being exposed to all of that, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it ever like kind of scary? Like, well, these are really important people, and like I really need to brush up. I mean, I feel like in news you kind of know, like when, especially like election year, like you kind of need to know like what you're talking about. But like being in DC, you can't really hide it if you don't really know your politics.
Right. But I think news like trained me well for that, you know, to be able to be comfortable around people of power, be able to, you know, not be intimidated and ask them questions. I think I was in a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Hawaii people there.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
not just like at the top, but like working with you too.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So why'd you ever leave?
Well, family.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad got sick. So, and you know, DC is so far from home. It takes like 14 hours to get home. So I just wanted to be closer to him.
Yeah.
So that was important. And so Colleen was actually great. She let me work out of the Honolulu office so I could go like back and forth to Kaua'i. And it was crazy because my dad got sick. He was diagnosed, his cancer came back. And then a month later, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh wow.
So I was taking both of my parents to like chemo. Like it was
so crazy.
it was a nuts time. I don't know how I got through that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your mom was on Kauai too at the time?
My mom was on the Big Island, but she was getting
that's
all her
right.
treatment on Oahu.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
you were going back and forth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't regret that decision at all.
Yeah.
Like coming home
you were
was
to come
easy.
home. Yeah, 100%.
Did you think like eventually you would go back to DC?
I don't think so. I think coming home and, you know, being with family put things into perspective. And I knew it was important for me to be home for the short term at least, you know, and short term being, I don't know, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not opposed to going back to DC at some point, but it would have to be a really amazing opportunity to go
Right.
all the way back
Right.
to the
yeah.
East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you went back to work you did
Yeah,
PR.
so
I had a 2-year stint in PR.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then news called me back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that you're on that side of news because it's like a whole different, I mean,
It
it's
is.
connected, but it's like a whole different scene.
Yeah.
It's like creating the stories and stuff that is presented to news.
And
right?
I value that part of my career so much. Like yes, news is very, you know, very tunnel vision, and PR is just, it makes you think outside of like, you know, planning and strategy. So yeah, I definitely learned so many valuable skills from PR.
Yeah.
That I think makes me a better professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every part of like that life journey
Yeah.
kind of just like adds up, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you're back at the news now.
Yep.
How's that been? And you're like, I kind of brought it up earlier, like that pivot and transition, but like, how are you keeping up with everything? And like, I know you won an Emmy, you know, for the
Which was nuts. What?
yeah. How was? Yeah, tell us about that. Yeah, tell us about that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, I got hired as a reporter. Had never ever thought I'd be an anchor. Never. They actually asked me a couple times to do reads, and I said no, mostly because I just never saw myself in that role, especially at Hawaii News now, because we have like powerhouses like Stephanie and Mahea who aren't going anywhere. Like, and this was before they asked me before I knew they were thinking of having a 4:00 newscast. So they finally wore me down. I did a couple reads because I don't like the sound of my voice. And they liked what they heard, I guess. And, you know, the pandemic hit, and that's when they decided, you know, we need more news because people are staying at home. They need their information earlier. So that's when we launched the noon show, and then we launched the 4 show. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. The 4 won the Emmy. I think we weren't even on the air. Well, we were nominated. Okay, so we won 9 months into launching the 4.
Yeah, because you launched
Yeah.
like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when the nominations came out, we were the only entry in that category, which means we won automatically. And I guess how it works is what I'm told is with judging, each entry is judged like 1 to 10. And in order to be a nominee, you need to at least make like a 7 or 8. But we were the only ones who scored high enough to be.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we just won.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
What was the category?
Best daytime newscast.
Wow.
I know. So we compete against Sunrise.
That's so crazy.
You know, like,
yeah. And only not even a year
No.
into the newscast.
I know. And usually I don't care about awards, especially like, you know, like ones that you enter.
Yep.
But I think this means a lot to me because of the time period. It was during COVID, you know, everyone had so much news. Everyone was at the top of their game. And I don't know, there were a lot of critics like when we first launched the 4, like who's going to watch a 4 o'clock newscast, you know?
Yeah.
So I just this one felt good.
Yeah.
That's
Did you
awesome.
guys have like a award ceremony, or was it because
It was
of COVID?
virtual.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's like the best part.
I know. I
Getting
didn't get with her
dressed up.
dress.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. I was nominated and I won in 2016
that's
as well,
right.
and that was a big defining moment for me too, because I was like in between like med school or this.
Oh, yeah.
And I used that as a sign, and I was like, okay, I need to like just like
Absolutely.
go full on and focus into this like media industry
Yes.
and whatnot. So it's been good ever since. So it's always good to hear like Hawaii people
Yeah.
winning. And
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure. What has it been like this second time around in news? Because I feel like the first time it's like you're just kids
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah,
like
yeah. You
you
get,
know
like, a fresh
trying to be
perspective again.
yeah, and then you had so much life experience and then like experience in politics and in PR. And so what was it like going back to news after having gone through all of that?
It's definitely easier. I will definitely have a lot more confidence in my writing, in my delivery. And I feel, you know, when we were in news the first time as kids, you know, we had such great mentors. And so I really try to be that for the young journalists in the newsroom too, like the producers and the young up and coming journalists.
That's so crazy that now you're like the one that are mentoring the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like who are some of those mentors that you looked up to?
Oh, well, Jim Mendoza was a huge one. He was
sure.
the first reporter I shadowed when I first started. And I mean, talk about the ultimate professional.
Yeah.
Nicest guy in the whole
nicest
world.
guy. For someone to be in news that long and to be that nice still and not jaded and
Yes.
he is a treasure.
Yes.
And you know, he just retired and
Yeah.
it's so sad not seeing him every day, but you know, I try to just remember like all the things he taught me and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's great.
I know. I can't believe he stayed in news for that long. Because already when we were just kids, he was like, you know, a tenured reporter. He had been there for a long time.
I know. Yep.
Yeah, but his storytelling is like so powerful. The way that his way with words, it's like still one of the best writers I
Yes.
think that I've ever met.
Yes.
Yeah.
What were some memorable stories for you, you know, like as a
Yeah.
reporter
Oh my
or
gosh.
or anything that like sticks out or like, I don't know,
Well, definitely
was a challenge maybe?
Oh, definitely the my coverage of the 2018 floods on Kauai, because that was so personal. You know,
Yeah,
that was my home. You know, I was at these places where I grew up, and just seeing it unrecognizable was really hard. But I wanted to be there. You know, I didn't want anyone else to be there covering it. It was very
Yeah.
important for me to do that.
Yeah.
That one definitely sticks out in my head.
You were there for like weeks, right?
I was there for 12 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so me and my photographer, we had to go to we had to buy clothes, like Ross. We had to stop and get socks or, you know, yeah. And there was one time they brought us back to Oahu to kind of just pack up again and go back.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Have you ever had any like embarrassing moments on live TV?
Thankfully, no, not yet. I don't think so, actually. No, nothing stands out.
You're always so just like put together, and you're just like I mean, like I can only imagine like sometimes you're just like getting the information like right before like you're on, but you're always just like got it together.
Yeah, that's such a good
Here's the
skill.
news.
Yeah,
I know, it's kind of amazing.
Whatever's happening, whatever's
Yeah.
affecting you, just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been watching lately, but we recently switched to automation, which we're behind in the industry. Like
what does that mean?
It means so before we would have like a director, we would have an audio person, we would have a technical director.
Okay.
All of that is one job now. And it's a lot of coding. So this person codes like, okay, when I hit the space bar, this camera will go to this shot.
Oh, okay.
This mic will go up. Like it's all coding. So
Oh,
if the
crazy.
code's wrong, it doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
And so it's been a learning curve. And
So you don't have somebody in your ear now telling you like
we do. We still have a producer. but there's one person who controls everything.
It's crazy because it's like a dance. Like you have to choreograph everything. Because I mean, I noticed like you guys say something, you guys turn to another camera or something, and it's like, what did you forget?
Yep.
Well, but before it was like 6 people in the control booth.
Yeah, so that's what she was saying, right?
It's basically
so
2 now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, if you press the button too quickly and it moves codes, then it's the wrong video or your mic's not on. It is insane.
Do you still print scripts?
We still print scripts.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just in case
Yep.
all goes to hell, then
exactly.
you have something.
Yeah. Security blanket.
Yeah.
Well, recently something happened at the office, right? Like the studio, like was a power out or something where you guys had to go like mobile?
We had a gas leak.
Oh, gas leak.
They,
Yeah.
They hit the gas line on Waikilo. So we went to our warehouse nearby and did the newscast from there.
Yeah, I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah.
You guys kind of like, no, I was like watching social media.
Yeah.
Like everyone was posting. I was like, oh, that's super cool. You know, like that you guys like brought your whole trucks out and everything. And
it's amazing like what we do like without a lot of things.
and it's such like, I feel like, you know, now like the news, like people don't realize it's such an important like source of information. And you know, you guys are delivering that information. Like how does that make you feel? And like
it's a responsibility we take very seriously. Yeah. Especially, I mean, I do at least. And, you know, we want to make sure we're getting it right. We want to make sure we're talking to both sides if possible. And, you know, with everything going on too, I think a big reason I did decide to come back to news was the whole, you know, fake news movement. I felt that this industry that I really, really cared about was being attacked. And I don't know. I don't know why I felt like even at the local level, like me being back in the news, like can help fight that, you know?
No, that's
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a good why.
Yeah. And you are like the realist. Like you're a local girl, small town. And I think people see that in you and trust that.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's because I know you, but I'm like, Ash isn't going to BS.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and that's what I hope.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, at least people can at least believe that I'm trying, you know, to bring you everything I can. Yeah.
Did you see, people got kind of nasty during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, towards everybody, but I would like read some of the comments on like the news or, you know, I'm just like, oh, the news is like in cahoots with whatever, like the...
Yeah, there was like a whole movement and like everyone was coming out of the woodworks.
I think some people get confused that we are the ones telling, like, we're the ones saying, wear your mask. No. Health officials say, wear your mask. You know, we're relaying the message to people, but they think we're the ones
coming up with the rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's definitely a tough time for like everyone from like, you know, the officials to everyone, you know, it's just like people didn't, they didn't realize that like, okay, like it's not the store making the rules.
Right.
It's like, this is the, you know, this is the mandate.
They're
you know,
just
it can't
following
get
the rules.
Yeah.
Has that changed anything for you or like in news, you know, like after going through the pandemic, does it change anything in the way that you do things or the way that you report things? Or
I mean, I don't think so. I think if I think what I learned is that some people you just can't get through to. And I'm on my social media, I'm very zero tolerance, like bullying or, you know, anything. Like if you just even comment at me a little weird, you're gone. Like I'm curious to see how many people I've blocked. I'm sure it's in the thousands. Because before I used to respond, and it's just not worth it. They're not gonna, you know, it's not even common sense at this point.
Right.
So,
It's like not worth your time and energy.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what they want from me, right?
Exactly.
They want a response.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Not gonna get it.
Not,
Yeah.
not today.
Not today, Jason.
I have that up there somewhere.
Yeah. And so I recommend everyone do that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not worth it. Not worth your energy.
I just want to meet these people. Like, I'm really curious. I'm like, what makes you like want to spend your time like putting people down or like spreading negativity?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, I'm so curious. Are you just a bot or are you like an actual person who just really needs
Lots of time. They have lots of time on their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't write to me what you wouldn't say to my face. Like,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of keyboard warriors out there.
Keyboard warrior.
But you know, you talked about like recommendations and advice, like what would be like some advice you'd give like an up and coming, like someone thinking about journalism?
Yeah, so we had a journalism class come in the other day. And I told them, you know, it is a hard time to be a journalist these days. But if you believe in truth seeking and you enjoy storytelling and information sharing and making your community a better place, there's no other job that's more fulfilling than news. And I think that's what I was missing in PR. Like PR was fun. It was so much fun. And I probably wouldn't have left if H&N didn't contact me, but it was that part of like community service that I was missing and public service.
Yeah. And every day is different.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Well, you don't report as much anymore.
Yeah.
At all. Do you?
Sometimes. If there's a story breaking on Kaua'i, they'll send me in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
Do you miss it?
being out in the field.
Depends.
Honestly, I thought I would a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hot out there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
out there.
Jacket.
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah. So I mean, like, you know, I was telling Kobe before this, like with that, like, you know, the news schedule, it's like you're on such a strict like routine, pretty much. You know, like things have to be in by 4, you know, like whatever it is. So like, what's your like typical day like?
So I usually get in around 9:30, and I work on the noon show. It's just me and Jonathan who puts it together, from the writing to the editing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy what we're able to do.
So
as
you
a
start at
2-person team.
9:30, and then you work with him to produce and like write everything.
Yep.
For the noon show.
For the noon show.
Okay.
Once that's done, I jump right into the 4. Start writing teases, go through scripts, try to update anything my producer has in the show. But yeah, it's nonstop once I get in. So like people are like, hey, can you go to lunch? I'm like, no, I can't. I literally cannot stop.
Yeah.
When I'm in, I am going. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for coming in this morning.
Of course.
This is before work. Yeah. So 4 p.m. show, you know, you're writing the whole time, and then 4 p.m. you're on air.
Yes. And it's an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an hour-long show.
It is. Yeah.
I've seen parts of the show, not the whole show.
Yeah.
Wow. Then it's
I see it on social media when
Yeah, I see clips of it.
So okay, so the hour-long show. So you're on, you know, like you're on air. You have to like be on,
Yep.
and then like what happens after that?
Then I go home.
Okay, and then you unwind for.
And
the
I
rest.
watch TV. Yeah. like
You watch the
like
news.
crappy. No.
Yeah, just like unwind.
Reality
Yeah.
TV. Yeah.
Nice.
What's your go-to?
Oh my! I love like the trashy dating reality TV.
Oh my god, Megan
my
too. I'm like, I
gosh.
go home
The
and I watch it, and
Bachelor.
I'm like, dude, this is trash.
Yes.
But I end up watching it too. It's like,
Yes.
okay, it's like good to just like turn off your brain.
Yes.
And
Or I'll watch like dark murder.
Yeah.
That's all that Netflix recommends for me. I'm like, what are you gonna say about myself? Like, it's only telling.
Yeah.
It's like the killer ones, or
Yeah.
like, how to murder your. What is it? How to get away with murder?
Do you still watch Grey's Anatomy?
I still watch Grey's Anatomy.
They need to
I
end it. I know.
I know, it's still
do
going.
They
too.
do need to end
Do
it.
you watch
but-
This Is Us?
Yeah, I did the first season.
Oh,
Yeah.
you need to get
It's on
back
its,
into
it's
it.
on its last season right
It's
now.
on like
so
the
good.
last 3 episodes of the series,
Oh, okay.
and it just keeps getting better and better. I'm like, I'm not ready for it to end. I'm not ready. Grey's Anatomy, you can end.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy is so long.
But I'm so loyal to it. But it's
Me
just like
too.
the poor characters. Just like let them go. They've been through everything. you can
exactly,
imagine.
dude. How many more times can Meredith almost die?
Poor Meredith.
I know. They're going to kill her new boyfriend probably too.
Oh no, something tragic. Something. It's been a few episodes where nothing happened. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're bound for something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out to all the Grey's Anatomy fans. Throughout your whole journey and everything, you know, met so many people, your mentors and whatnot. Like, what's the best advice you've gotten?
Oh gosh.
First one that comes to mind.
I would say don't sweat the small stuff because it's all small stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the worst advice?
The worst advice? Oh boy. So I wouldn't say it's the worst advice because it's not wrong. But at the time I couldn't believe I was getting it. So the same college counselor, when I asked if I should get a master's degree in journal, you know, if I should go for like higher education, he's like, nah, save the money for plastic surgery.
That's what he said.
Which I mean, in news, I mean, it's not, you don't need a master's degree in news.
The save the money part was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, at the time I was like, huh. But
What you trying to say, counselor?
He's not wrong, I guess. You know? Yeah, but yeah.
It works.
That's
yeah.
That's stuck with me.
Yeah. Shout out to that college counselor again.
I know. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's still giving kids advice on their.
Well, if he's still talking like that, I don't think he has a job anymore.
Yeah.
I know, this day and age. Yeah. We're all storytellers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, what's your definition of storytelling, and what does it mean to you?
For me, I want you to be able to understand and know what the story is about without even thinking of me. You know what I mean? I kind of want to be like in the background and take you through, everything you need to know to form your own opinions without my presence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of just like be able to like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
How
Yeah,
do
that's
you
an interesting
do that?
perspective. Yeah,
How do you do that?
How did you get to that point?
I mean, I think it's with the writing and with the details, and then people just kind of listen, and they almost like even forget you're there. If that makes sense.
They can't forget. People can't forget you. What has been like your? I mean, I kind of we talked about like memorable story, but like a favorite story. Like they're all your favorites, but like
Oh man, I mean, I don't really have a favorite, but my favorite days at work are when like I help someone, even if it's like an auntie who has been complaining about a pothole in front of her house for like years. Like even something as little as that makes me feel so good. You know?
It's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. Have you had a story that like you can't like it just kind of stays with you, like good or bad? But
Kobe, yes. Ugh. So it was gosh, it must have been 2005 or like early. It was the story of when the neighbor threw the baby onto the freeway. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do.
And
That was a heavy one.
yeah, I remember like just hearing the mom, because the mom wasn't home at the time. And, the news was the one to tell her what happened.
Oh, wow.
And just like her screams, like, you don't forget it. You know,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
especially when the news is the one breaking the news to the family.
that is horrible. Ugh.
Yeah.
And
Which is why I don't like going to people's homes, you know, and,
Yeah.
you never know what they're going through and what they know.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
Wow. Yeah.
Ugh.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I know. That's,
That
And
just like makes
I
me
know.
like cringe
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
Like
so
wow.
were you the reporter that? Like, was-
So my friend Tina was,
Uh-huh.
but I was with her. Yeah.
That's. Can't imagine.
Yeah. And I believe Tina cried on air that night too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think everyone
Yeah.
just like resonated. And,
Yeah.
Oh, that's heavy.
I don't know. How do we transition
We should have started with that.
now?
And then a happy story that's
Yeah. Now a happy story.
Happy story.
Or how about somebody that you've interviewed or like met that has really like
Impacted. You.
yeah,
Oh,
like
that is hard. That is so many people.
Yeah.
I mean,
first one that comes to mind.
there's so many people. I think one of my favorite interviews, and I was very fortunate to know him too as a person, was Senator Akaka.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about just the epitome of aloha, and the same with Jim Mendoza, for someone who's been in politics that long, to be that, ray of light. Yeah, he was just amazing. I miss speaking to him.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so special that you got to really know him, like form a relationship with both of the senators, actually. But yeah, there won't be anybody like them.
Yeah.
Him and them. Yeah. After interviewing like so many people, hundreds, thousands, maybe, I don't know, so many people,
Yeah.
like what's like one thing that you have like learned about people in general?
I think, especially when you're a journalist, no matter who you're interviewing, they're all the same, right? It doesn't matter how much power they have. They're still human. And I think that people forget that, especially with, you know, people of power, that they are still human. They make mistakes. They're not perfect. And it's humbling to see that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to see that like deeper surface. I mean, versus like just surface level that a lot of people see on TV or social media and all that. Get to connect with them on a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get to tell their story. I mean, that's also like why we liked the idea of this, because like with what we do and even in news, you're just looking for the sound bite, right? It's like you're just looking for the 5, 10, 15-second sound bite. But then the rest of the interview, it's like there's a story there. There's so much value there.
And
that
no one ever
people
gets to listen to it or hear it. And you know, it's just like, how do we bring that to life?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why we call it uncut.
Yep.
You know, we don't cut.
Yeah.
It's like
it's all about connection. I think connection does bring like understanding and trust, and I mean, you're just a regular girl. Like, I mean, we see you on the news, but you're just like
super down to earth,
super fun, down to earth. I mean, just like a girl's girl, and just and that's like with anybody, actually anybody.
Yes.
I wish we could interview like everybody, because everybody has a story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What, like anything exciting coming up? Like anything new?
So later this month, the senior class at my high school asked me to be a keynote at graduation.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
So when the senior class president first reached out to me, I was very confused at first, because I was like, we're basically the same age. Like, what am I gonna say? You know, like, what advice can I give to them? Like, we're basically peers. And I was quickly reminded that this is my 20-year reunion.
Wow.
So, no
one would ever know. No one would ever know.
But, like, in my head, I was like,
all the students would be like, why is she speaking so much? She's so young.
Yeah, that's our valedictorian.
Exactly.
I've never seen her in class before.
Yeah. So I mean,
what an
that's
honor.
exciting.
Yeah. No. So I'm looking forward to it. But
do you have an idea of what you're gonna say to these bright-eyed and bushy-tailed seniors?
Well, they've been through a lot. I mean, you know, and so like I was thinking like of, you know, back when I was in high school, it wasn't just, you know, several months ago, 9/11 happened. And it was a scary time then for us as a senior class to enter the world, because, you know, there was terrorism. The TSA, our senior class was the first one. I don't know if you remember, before you could just walk to the gate. There was no TSA.
Yeah.
You could wave, give your friend lei and like wave by at the gate. Our class couldn't do that. And so I think, like, you know, encouraging them to like not be afraid to enter the world at this time when there's war, there is, you know, Asian hate, there's all these things going on, that it's
Pandemic.
still, it's still important to go out there and find yourself and not be afraid. Something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm inspired. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Aw, well, thank you so much for spending time with us. I know you're so busy.
Of course.
I love you, and I'm just so proud of you and like what you've been able to accomplish and what you will still accomplish. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's tough. We meet each other outside and whatnot, but it's like always so cool to connect and like hear your story. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing all your valuable advice, and see you on TV.
See you on TV. Follow her on Instagram, but no hate.
Yeah.
You're gonna be blocked. You're gonna be blocked. Okay, bye.